Right, loading up now. Does seem like everything is set up now, so for everybody joining in and everybody that will be watching this stream afterwards, welcome to AER 100. So this format basically consists of 100% race, unequal performance cars, no cars have permanent drivers, so each week the cars will be allocated to each driver randomly, and then no qualifying involved, so random grid and yeah, 100% race. So 58 laps today here in Abu Dhabi. We've got a wonderful lineup. Unfortunate that we don't have 20 drivers lined up for today, but nonetheless stacked with talent, stacked with excitement, so can definitely be looking at seeing a well-driven race from all these drivers. If we maybe just check here at the race director. So as you can see here, we've got Benji and Bexon gonna be representing Ferrari today. They'll be starting in first and third. And then we've got Ryan in the Mercedes, also starting in the front row. JT Gent in the Aston Martin. Cragleton, Alpine, someone to look out for this race. We've got Crazy Beta in the McLaren, Boss Membrane in the Aston Martin. We've got Dunsby in the Racing Bull. Then we've got Baggy in the Haas, Zach Zeek in the Alpine as well. What a wonderful lineup for the Alpine team. Both wonderful drivers. Zach Zeek, of course, winning the driver of the day in the previous race for Division 1 on Wednesdays. And then we've got Toby, wonderful driver as well from Haas. Also definitely a contender to win this race, even though he starts in P11. Then we've got Lord Genzi in the Racing Bull, Blaze Bob, we'll just call him Jimmy for commentating purposes. He's in the Red Bull, and then rounding off the grid is JJ Trim. He will be representing McLaren. I do know that there is a driver that is struggling with some connection, so he will be ultimately our 15th driver. Whether he makes it for the start of the race, I'm not quite sure, but nonetheless it's going to be a wonderful race to watch. My apologies. Still didn't shake off the flu that I've had this past week, but yeah, let's go. Benji Bucket has been basically asking for driver of the day this past week. He'll be starting in P1. He's had a wonderful race on Wednesday for Division 1. I think he also ultimately surprised himself with that result. So definitely gonna have to keep an eye on Benji. He'll be representing Ferrari as we take a look at the details. So we've got Benji, JT Gent, Crazy Beta, Boss Membrane, Baggy, Toby, Lord Genzi and Jimmy all on medium tires, and then we've got Ryan, Dunsby and Zach Zeek on the softs, and Bexon, Cragleton and JJ will be on the hard tires. So a different combination of strategies that's going to take place, and ultimately in a 100% race this is all going to come down to a combined performance. So the question is going to be asked, has the strategy that you've put up worked well? And then you're gonna have to have a consistent driving ability today. We all know Abu Dhabi can be quite relentless, especially hitting the curbs too hard. Can obviously occur some floor damage. But yeah, so it's basically gonna come down to a well-rounded performance, combined with the strategies and driving abilities of the cars. As we see, I believe that was Boss Membrane spinning just outside of the last corner. JT Gent, actually, my apologies, but that was a funny situation there. Cragleton being disqualified, but we all know they'll be forming up on the grid safely and fully. So we are ready for this race, as we are on 5 lights waiting for the go, and they're ready and off. Let's see what start Benji can pull off here. It does look like Ryan's got the better start between the two. Remember, he is on the soft tire. Benji has had a very average start, with Cragleton already moving up to 3rd place onto the tail of Benji in the Ferrari. It doesn't look like there's been any kind of other drama going on behind, so clean start for all the races. And we see the Ferrari of Bexham boys spinning out there, just losing the rear. Quite unfortunate there for the Ferrari, so not the greatest start for Bexham. But in any case, it does look like we've got some, and there goes the end plate for the front wing. I couldn't quite catch who was the driver there. We might see the performance of the different cars. It does look like it might be Zach Zeek without an end plate. No, it's not Zach Zeek. Might be one of the Hasses, and it does look like it might be Baggy without the end plate of his front wing. So we just take a closer look. Yeah, he's lost the end plate of his front wing, so some damage there for the Hass. Unfortunate, but we'll be jumping on board here with Cragleton. I might suspect that Baggy from the Haas might go into the pit to repair that front wing. We'll just have a look here and see whether that is the case, and he does make the pit stop. So unfortunate start there for the Haas driver. It does look like it was just a side-to-side collision going into that corner between 4 or 5 cars, and unfortunately just got the worst of it. So unfortunate start there for the Haas driver. Bexon is quite a long way down, but he does move up past Baggy in the Haas, as Baggy decides to jump onto a new front wing, as we are on board you with Zach Zeek, the driver of the day in the Wednesday division last week. He'll be hunting down Boss Membrane, who's also had a wonderful race on Friday for the podium division, taking the win there. Unfortunate for the penalties that bumped him down to 2nd. Zach Zeek here has got DRS on the Aston Martin. Zach Zeek has been very consistent, and if I do say so myself, he is a very well collected driver, and also very neat and tidy, very consistent, very conservative, and also very aggressive when the opportunity arises. So wonderful driver Zach Zeek in the Alpine, and a wonderful start for the Alpine drivers. But do note that in the AER 100 division, it's only a driver standing competition, so every man for himself. No constructors championship, as far as I believe. I'm speaking under correction, as we are on board here with Cragleton in the Alpine, chasing down Ryan in the Mercedes. This is the very popular corner of Abu Dhabi that everybody knows for Max Verstappen diving into Lewis Hamilton to ultimately claim the Drivers' Championship. So might we see a winning move here today, like that particular move from the Red Bull driver? He's also won the race in Spain today. If that race was 5 laps longer, then Lando Norris would have got him. But in any case, back to AER racing. If we maybe just take a look on the gains of these drivers, so you can see there the significant gains there. He's from Toby in the Haas, so he's definitely a contender to win this race today. Toby is a very skilled driver, also very collected, neat and tidy, knows for what opportunities to go for, as he has overtaken Zach Zeek now for 5th position. And then Jimmy and JJ has also jumped up 6 positions, so great start from them. On the other side of things, JT Gent and Crazy Bait are not the greatest of starts for those two drivers, and then Bexon of course spinning off there, going into the 4th corner, I believe, might be the 6th one. But in any case, we're on board here with Cragleton as he's looking for his opportunity now. So Cragleton will be having DRS going into the home straight. Benji Bucket close onto the tail. Benji having a cracker of a race again. I think he might be surprising himself these last few weeks. Really been enjoying the new game. Cragleton staying strategic there because he knows there's a DRS zone going into this straight, so he will be going for the move here. Very smart driving from the LP, knowing he would have been under DRS threat would he have overtaken the Mercedes driver. So wonderful racing there from Cragleton as he moves up into P1. We are on board here with Boss Membrane, who's overtaken Benji, and he's on the hunt for the skull of Ryan in the Mercedes as well. So wonderful racing here between the top 7 positions. JJ in the McLaren just losing a bit of contact with the front runners of this race. We drive on board here with Toby. It's quite interesting to watch him drive. For the people that don't know Toby is on the pad. Loads of these drivers are all on the wheel, but Toby is a wonderful pad driver, showing everybody outside that racing on pad isn't necessarily a disadvantage, but in some cases an advantage. So he does have a setting, certain calibration, should I say, on his steering wheel setting. So he overtakes Benji Bucket now for a P4 position, but Benji does know that he's got DRS now for the next home straight, as we just keep an eye on Benji, as Benji might be going for the move here. And Benji did lose his DRS, did he? No, he didn't. So wonderful racing here. Ryan battling with Boss Membrane as Boss Membrane just goes onto the inside there. So Boss Membrane moves into P2, and now the Mercedes driver is under pressure as Toby moves onto his inside. Sufficient amount of space given there by the Haas driver as Benji also looks onto the outside. So now Ryan is under immense attack from these drivers. Zach Zeek will also be looking to go onto the inside there of the Mercedes. In a matter of 2 or 3 corners, Ryan jumps down from P2 to P5. So these drivers are absolutely relentless. They are going at it inch by inch. Cragleton is definitely creating a bit of a gap at the front, as he's 1.6 seconds ahead of Boss Membrane at the moment. So we've got a DRS train here behind Boss Membrane as we drive on board again with Toby. Massive credit for Toby to be able to jump into 3rd position after starting in P11. As you can see there, 8 positions jumped already. So wonderful driving from the Haas. Very aggressive driver, but only when it matters. Not necessarily a careless driver. Always when the opportunity opens, then he's quite aggressive, and so should it be, because it's all hard racing. It's all about giving the other drivers a significant amount of space to be able to maneuver and move onto the opposition. So Benji Bucket starting to create a little bit of a gap between him and Ryan. It does look like Ryan is holding back the Alpine driver a little bit, as Jimmy has also caught up to Zach Zeek now. We drive on board here with Benji. If Benji could hear me now, mate, driver of the day might be slipping out of your hands at the moment for P1 till to P4. That's not the start he wanted, but for his standards of driving, he's driving incredibly well. Toby is not a driver that's easy to keep up with, so just the fact that Benji is keeping up with Toby, it's wonderful progress from the Ferrari driver. I think he's really enjoying this game as Toby goes off, almost off of the track here, and now Benji's got the opportunity for a good exit on Toby. Might be going for the move now, might be using his energy store. If you did miss it, Baggy from the Haas has received the 3-second time penalty. Toby making contact with the ball out there. So a bit of up and down driving from Toby, and that might open the window for Benji to maneuver a move here. Cragleton having an absolute breeze at the front as his gap is almost 2.5 seconds now. So the race at the current moment is for the podium positions, and that's Boss Membrane, Toby and Benji. Being a F124 driver myself, it's quite exhilarating to watch these guys drive, just to see what they do in the races, how they maneuver things, how they strategize their overtaking decisions. So it's definitely a learning curve for drivers like me that would have probably been at the back of this field, as Bexon has received a 3-second time penalty, but Toby making an overtake on Boss Membrane, and now Toby's got his sights on Cragleton. Gotta remember here, it doesn't look like Toby might be having DRS, and he doesn't, so he's gonna be under threat now from Boss Membrane. As Zeke has overtaken Ryan Air now, so he moves up into P5, also on the hunt for those podium positions, as JJ and Ryan having a tussle there, and that might open the opportunity for Jimmy, and he does as he overtakes the Mercedes driver. Got to leave space there, just backing out there Ryan, knowing that this race is still 51 laps left, as there is a caution, and Benji has lost his front wing as well. Just gonna check for a safe re-entry into the race, and that's quite unfortunate. I did not pick that up on camera, but that's unfortunate for the Ferrari driver. The good thing is that Zeke and Ryan has also pitted with him, as they were on the softs, and a safety car has been deployed. That's possibly for the front wing of Benji, causing a safety car there. So even though nobody has retired from the race just yet, Benji has caused a safety car, and that's actually quite a saving grace for Benji, if I can put it like that. Baggy receives a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Come on lads, gotta know that you have to slow down. No benefit in a race like this to take the chance of getting a 10-second time penalty. A 10-second time penalty is absolutely, that's a lot of time, especially in this division. So as I've mentioned, that might be a bit of a prayer answered from Benji for the safety car being deployed. So not necessarily losing any time on the drivers in front. He does have a new wing now, he is on new tires as well. That might trigger some moves at the front as Benji tries to warm up the tires. Now he is on the hard tires, so the temperatures of the tires, not quite sure if Benji is hearing me. Looks like he might be trying to grab my attention here, but he is on the hard tires, and we do know that the hards do take a bit longer to heat up, and also the optimum temperature for the hards is approximately 90 to 100 degrees, so he's got some warming up to do on these tires. Crazy Pater receiving a 3-second time penalty under safety car conditions. Come on guys, you need to keep it together, stay consistent. That's basically gonna be the tip of the tail here. Toby has pitted as well, I did miss that, so he's on the hard tyres now. He was on the mediums, going for the hard tyre, probably gonna look for a bit of a longer stint to catch up to Cragleton, who has not pitted yet, I believe. He was on the hard tyre from the get-go, so he might be looking to capitalize on the opportunity of Cragleton not pitting. So Toby might be on an interesting situation here. Gonna take a look at the stops here. So the top 4 hasn't stopped yet. Not quite sure if there might be a pit stop from these top 4 drivers, maybe to counter the move that Toby has made on going to the hards. But they're gonna lose track position. The race has, the entire grid has basically has caught up to the safety car, and JT Gen goes into the pits, as you can see there. So sacrificing the track position of P4 there, but the race is still long. As we like to take a look on the tire wear of these drivers, as we can all see here that the top 3 not pitting for any tires, as they're on 10 lap old hard tires, and then Jimmy on 10 lap old mediums. So Jimmy is in 3rd position, so he does have the track position, but he's gonna be under threat from Toby and Boss Membrane, all on new hard tires. So he's gonna have some defending to do. So be warming up those tires. As we're just gonna have a look here at how Toby warms up his tires. So he's a firm believer of swerving the car as much as possible, but also some heavy braking and heavy acceleration going out of the corners to get some heat up in those tires. High revs, also a big help for heating up some tires. We're just gonna put on the full track map here so that we can just keep up to date with how things are unfolding with regards to catching the safety car. So you can see there Bexon just catching up to the safety car queue, but Baggy still has 3 or 4 corners left of the lap, as it looks like it's Jimmy ignoring yellow flag. So I think Jimmy actually got a 10-second time penalty there for overtaking, which is quite unfortunate, because I mean he did make the trip into the pit lane, and now he's got a 10-second time penalty. He cannot serve that 10-second time penalty during a safety car, so that's unfortunate for the Red Bull driver. It might be something to worthy for appeal there, because it is a difficult pit entry. So of course when you go into the pits, you're gonna overtake the drivers in front of you technically, so that might be worth. And it does look like Blaze has, served his time penalty in the pits though, so that's quite interesting, as there's been a collision between Bexon and Baggy. Baggy might have driven into the back of Bexon, so let's maybe see if he's got any damage to the front wing. I believe Normally in the scenario of a safety car, it doesn't look like there's any damage to Baggy's car. Just want to have a quick look at the front wing there. Look like, yeah, he's missing an end plate there, so more damage for the Haas driver. So absolute screamer of a race in my opinion. And ultimately, everyone, that cost you the race to have silly mistakes like that, speeding in the pit lane. I've been a victim of that for quite a while. The safety car has announced that he will be in this lap. But just to come back to the penalties, drive-through penalties under yellow flags, overtaking on yellow flags, speeding in the pit lane, all unnecessary mistakes as Cragleton goes for the restart now, and it looks like Toby's got a good exit compared to JJ in the McLaren. So great start there from the Haas driver, and he is now looking to overtake Cragleton as he's on fresher hard tires. As we just drive on board here with JJ, I think this is the perfect point of view to look at the battle between Toby and Cragleton. As Toby, JJ using all of his ERS to overtake the Haas driver. Will he maybe go for the move? No, just backing out of it. Smarter play there from the McLaren, as he might go for the inside out now, and Toby gets a very good exit there, so definitely defending his position as he's on hot lap ERS mode, so he's definitely looking for the opportunity to overtake Cragleton, saving some DRS there. That's also an aspect in Toby's racing. He's very good at managing his ERS deployment, and that ultimately makes him a wonderful driver to look at when it comes to overtaking other drivers. As we drive on board here with Benji, Benji has moved up back into P6, so definitely after losing his front wing, he did have a bit of mercy from above to still be back in P6. As Zaxik is on the tail now of Bossman Brain, tried to back out of the overtaking opportunity there, and that might put him under compromise of Benji in the Ferrari behind him. As we are toe to toe for all these drivers, and Cragleton will be looking to defend against Toby, staying on the inside there, grabbing DRS opportunity before the line, and now Cragleton is in the driving seat to overtake Toby now. So this gives you the feels of Abu Dhabi between Max Verstappen and Hamilton, as Toby might have been using ERS there. So wonderful defending there from the Haas driver as he looks to set himself apart from the rest of the field now, as we've got an entire train of drivers. Anybody's race at this current moment, up until P9 at least. Dunsby losing out quite a bit. As Toby sets the fastest time in a 1:27.0. Just jumping back on board with Zaxik, wonderful driver to look at in my personal experience. Very neat and tidy driver, as I've mentioned before. He's on the attack of overtaking Bossman Brain in the Aston Martin. Bossman Brain going for the quicker corner entry, but might have the slower corner exit, as Zaxik is now on the pounds with DRS behind Bossman Brain. No penalties, of course, for these drivers, as Bossman Brain loses his car going into the corner, and now the opportunity arises for Zaxik to overtake the Aston Martin. That's what makes AI such a wonderful aspect to the game. Boss Membrane losing his car, absolutely nothing he can do to re-enter the track in a safe manner, and that basically ghosts him out for other drivers to avoid collisions with him or something beyond his control. Benji on the attack now, as Benji receives a 3-second time penalty the moment I put my point of view on him. I do label myself as a commentator curse type of commentator, because every time I switch point of view, it's at basically 5 or 10 seconds then something happens. So Benji receiving a 3-second time penalty. And as far as I understand, track limit penalties cannot be served within the pit lane. So Benji receiving DRS here. Ryan will be having DRS behind him as well. And Crazy Beta also receiving a time penalty. So now the inconsistency of the drivers are starting to pick up. Obviously you're going to be a bit more prone to penalties in a longer race format, but we're only 16 laps in with quite a few track limit penalties. Toby absolutely gapping the field now, so it shows you it was absolutely a pivotal move of Toby to go into the pit lane for the fresher hot tyres, as he's almost 2 seconds faster than Cragleton at the moment. Not per lap, I apologize, but still 2.2 seconds in front of Cragleton, and Cragleton's no slow driver. If you've missed it, Benji has set the fastest second sector of the race. So Benji is definitely on the attack now, as he's starting to create a bit of a gap between him and Ryan, the Mercedes behind him. As Zach Zeek has got his sights on JJ for a podium position. It's absolutely unmissable action to be a part of. JJ overtaking Cragleton now, but Cragleton might have other plans for JJ as they go into the next corner, both having DRS, I believe. No DRS for JJ, so now there's an opportunity for Cragleton to overtake. Will he go onto the inside? No, he won't. As I've mentioned, Cragleton, both Cragleton and Zach, of course, very conservative drivers. They know they're not gonna risk their race for just an overtake opportunity that will come across again going into the race. Zach Zeek now very close to his teammate. Boss Membrane very close to Zach Zeek. Benji also onto the tail of these 3-4 drivers. So this is action that you cannot miss. You've got to have to stay on board with one of these drivers at least to show what unfolds between these drivers. Toby absolutely creating a gap between all these drivers. 6 drivers going into the DRS zone, so something interesting is going to happen now. There's going to be an overtake from Zach Zeek on Cragleton. Will there be an overtake on the inside by Boss Membrane? And some contact there between Zach and JJ, as Boss Membrane also loses out to Cragleton, but he does get a better exit compared to the Alpine. So will he be looking for the move on the outside? Cragleton catching up to Zach. Absolutely wonderful racing. It looks like Ryan has overtaken Benji, but Benji with the better exit there, going out of the corner, and Benji regaining that P6 position, as he's still on the hunt for a podium position, as the 4 drivers in front of him are battling hard. So that creates an opportunity for Benji and Ryan to catch up to them. As we're gonna drive on board a bit with Toby just to show the consistency of his driving. Under circumstances of bad driving, he's the perfect example of practice and confidence and control. So he's the ultimate package, as Toby is creating a massive gap between him and the drivers behind, as there might be an opportunity for Boss Membrane for Cragleton. Cragleton just backing out, looking for the faster exit out of the corner, and that is gonna create an opportunity for Benji and Ryan to also capitalize on this. And Zag overtakes JJ going into the corner, going out of the DRS zone. Absolutely wonderful racing from these drivers. This is great racing between all of them, as JJ re-overtakes Zach. So the problem with overtaking in that first DRS zone is the second DRS zone is so close, and with hard braking going out of the first DRS zone, that ultimately gives the opportunity for the car that's been overtaken to re-overtake the car that's overtaken him. So this is the drama of Abu Dhabi. This is why this is such an iconic racetrack to watch the racing between these drivers, as Boss Membrane is onto the tail of Zach now. Overtaking him on the inside, Zach leaving him plenty of space, but he's gonna have the better exit compared to the Aston Martin. So will Zach go for the move? Boss Membrane definitely having a look on the inside. Zach might make this a double overtake. No, he's not. As conservative as can be, going for the inside out just like JJ, and JJ overtaking Boss Membrane again. So now Zach has got the DRS on Boss Membrane, and he's maybe looking for an overtake on the McLaren driver as well, but no overtake possible for the LP. As he moves up into P3, Benji going for a move on Cragleton. Cragleton having none of that, regaining that P5 position. Ryan looking for any opportunities from these drivers, and this is exactly what Toby will be wanting to hear. These drivers having an absolute battle between themselves, and he's just absolutely giving it his all, as he's almost 6 seconds in front of this train of drivers. JT Gent just losing a bit of time to Ryan, but if this battle between these 6 drivers carry on, there might be an opportunity for the Aston Martin as well. So if you did miss this, Cragleton has also received a 3-second time penalty for track limit. And now we're going to drive on board here with JJ, as he's got an entire DRS train behind him. So this next corner is going to be absolutely interesting. Boss Membrane not scared of overtaking, as Jimmy has retired from the race. Not quite sure what happened to the Red Bull, and some contact there as well. Just as I wanted to have a look at what happened to Jimmy in the Red Bull, there's been some contact, and I'm trying to see if there's any damage caused there. It looks like Benji is missing his front end plate. Just trying to have a look at whether there's any damage to the other cars, but I did see some debris on the track. Not sure if that might cause a virtual safety car. It doesn't look like the virtual safety car is going to be deployed. But if the view of this camera type can just give me a bit of a look at what damage is on these cars. Doesn't look like anybody's missing an end plate except for Benji. Benji is missing his left end plate, not taking the chance again of pitting again. But that opens an opportunity for JT Gent. Also, Ryan has lost out to JT Gent, so I'm not sure if he maybe picked up some damage as well. Might have been a collision between Benji and Ryan, so that's unfortunate. But Boss Membrane creating a gap between him and Zach Zeke as he's catching up to Toby now. Toby was 5.5 seconds in front, and now he's losing some distance to the Aston Martin. Unfortunate that I couldn't capture the moment for Jimmy, but he's been retired from the race, so 13 eligible drivers remaining in this race. Zach Zeke now being distanced from Boss Membrane. Cragleton having a look on the outside and making slight contact with his teammate, and Zach pits. And Benji might also be in the pit lane. No, he's not. So it's Zach and JJ in the pit lane now. Benji moving up into P4, doing a wonderful job with some damaged front wing there. But under threat now from JT Gent in the Aston Martin. 4 seconds apiece for Toby and Boss Membrane to the cars behind them. As Benji overtakes JT in the Aston Martin. Also an overtake loading for Ryan in the Mercedes. Might he look for the inside of Benji? No, he's not. Keeping his distance, keeping him space. Benji on the tail of Cragleton. It's almost like Benji's driving without any damage to his car, so it's wonderful to see from the Ferrari driver, but he's in P4 position at the moment. I have to say I've been very impressed with the way Boss Membrane has been approaching this race. All the opportunities given to him, he's used those opportunities to overtake, and he's driving cleanly. A few moments for him, but nonetheless still wonderful driving from the Aston Martin as he's in P2 at the moment. Lord Genzi might have an opportunity on the Aston Martin. It does look like Cragleton has lost his car, but now Benji is back into the podium positions, provisionally of course with a 3-second time penalty, but Ryan moves up into P4. So Cragleton starting maybe to feel the grip levels of his 24 all lap hard tires. As there's quite a significant distance between Boss Membrane and Benji, and Ryan going for the overtake on the inside of the Ferrari driver. Now Benji is going to have to look for an opportunity as Lord Genzi makes the lunge into JT Gent. JT Gent having none of that, but it does look like it's going to be close racing as it got DRS again. Benji might also be looking for a move there as he stays behind, and Lord Genzi looking to keep the inside and staying in front of the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin does look like he had the better exit going out of that corner, so Lord Genzi definitely under threat here from JT Gent. Wonderful driving from the Aston Martin drivers today. As Cragleton now moves into the pit lane, so I think he had enough of his tires now. Cragleton into the pit. We'll just have a quick look here. It doesn't look like there's too much drama going on track. Let's see what he goes in. He goes for the mediums. And he replaces his front wing as well, so he had some damage. So not necessarily the tire wear for Cragleton, but he did have some damage. JJ overtaking him on track. Benji losing some time to Ryan, so it does look like the damage to his front wing might be causing him some pace. It does look like Zach Zeke also picked up a penalty. As we just jump again onto the pit strategy, so Zach has stopped for 2 moments now. JT Gent going for the overtake on Lord Genji. Just have a look here at the tyre strategies. So JJ and Zach both on 2-lap all tyres. JJ on the mediums and Zach Zeke on the hard tyres. And the rest pretty much the same. 16 laps all around except for JT Gent in the Aston Martin. He's on 14-lap all tyres. As the distance is starting to grow between Boss Membrane and Ryan. So it looks like it's a two-man battle at the moment. Boss Membrane not necessarily losing too much time to Toby, as JJ records the fastest time of the race, 1:26.6. Previous lap time was set by Toby with a 1:26.7, so that's the hard tyres for Toby. Crazy Beta receiving another time penalty. And Lord Genji spins it. That's unfortunate for the Racing Bull. JT Gent also losing out a bit to Benji. Dunsby receiving a 3-second time penalty. So now the race is starting to spread a bit. The action is pretty much between JT Gent, Benji and Lord Genji at the moment, as JJ is looking to catch up back to the drivers in front of him. So a relatively spread out field here. Boss Membrane catching up to Toby. So Toby will be looking at some tyre strategies now. So Boss Membrane does look like he's got the pace today. Cragleton setting a 1:26.0. That's absolutely blazing fast. So you don't want a angry Cragleton at the back of you, so I feel sorry for Zach, who's being hunted down by his teammate Baggy, receiving a 3-second time penalty. Let's just have a look at the time penalty situation, as Crazy Beta and Baggy both on 12 seconds. So Baggy not a stranger for penalties today. As there's some jam-packed action between JT Gent and Benji at the moment. Lord Genji starting to lose a bit of touch from these two drivers. And Toby is in the pit lane. So let's have a look at what Toby's situation is going to be. He's going to fit on the medium tires, no damage or anything, so this is pure strategy from the Haas. Will that maybe counter an opportunity for Boss Membrane to make sure there's no undercut between him and Toby? Ryan being hunted down by Benji. Benji is doing an absolute fantastic job with a damaged front wing, but he's under threat now from the Aston Martin. Aston Martin's got DRS, but is this the correct move, as Benji's gonna have DRS going into the second DRS zone, as there's a caution in sector 3. I'm not quite sure who that could have been. Does look like it might have been Dixon. But now Benji's got the opportunity to re-overtake JT, and he does so comfortably. JT's trying to stay on the outside, trying to keep Benji on the inside, and now there's a battle in our hand. JT just holding position, as he knows there's gonna be another opportunity, as we are approaching the halfway stage of this race, and I think we all can agree that it's been wonderful racing from everyone so far. Few silly mistakes with the penalties from everybody, but now JT spins out just avoiding the wall there. And now Lord Genji has got his opportunity, as Bexen has had a moment. So he's been overtaken by Baggy for P10. And Toby is on the hunt to get back at Boss Membrane. Remember, the race is between these two at the moment, Boss Membrane and Toby. Toby on the fresher medium tires. Benji starting to create a gap, but it's not going to be long, as Benji is still on old hard tires, and you got to remember Toby's on fresh mediums. Lord Genji under threat now from JP Gent. And JP Gent makes that move absolutely comfortably, as Toby is already within DRS of Benji. 11 seconds now between Boss Membrane and Ryan, and Toby is gonna look on the inside here, makes that move comfortably, and now he's less than 3 seconds behind, and he clocks a 1:25.8. Take that, Cragleton. Wonderful lap there from Toby, and I think he's gonna go even faster now with this lap. That's some credit that I've got to give to Toby. Toby's setups is impeccable. I've tried his setups myself with the time trials, and he's got such a comfortable setting, especially for drivers like me. He's also on pad, so he's the standard for the pad drivers, and his setups are absolutely as crazy. Beta has retired from the race. We're gonna have a look at what happened to Crazy Beta. It does not look like his car is on track, but it does look like he had some damage there, as you can see the debris on the track. But he's retired from the session, so that's our second retirement, and Dunsby takes the opportunity to get into the pit lane. So this is the second safety car. Bexen replacing his front wing. So now we're gonna have to wait for the safety car queue to be caught up again. Boss Membrane. I think that's a wonderful opportunity for Boss Membrane to have pitted. He's gonna be overtaken by Toby, but now Boss Membrane is on fresh soft tires, so this is gonna make things interesting. As the front runners are catching up to the safety car. As we wait for the safety car queue to be caught up again before we restart this race, is gonna take a while. As you can see there, Dunsby is already one corner in front of the safety car, so quite some catching up there. Baggy is in the pit lane serving his time penalties, I believe. As we take a quick look at the positional changes, so gotta give credit where credit is due. Boss Membrane and Toby having wonderful races between them. Lord Genji also jumping 9 positions, but I also think he's one pit stop behind the likes of Zach, Benji and Cragleton. Let's just have a look here at the stops. So as you can see there, Lord Jersey and JT Jens both only stopping one so far in this race. 5 stops already for Baggy. And we take on a look at the tyres. So you can see there Lord Jersey, JT Jens are making the move now into the pit lane. As Lord Jersey is on 23 lap old hard tyres. So he's going to be under threat from Zaxi, but especially Ryan and Benji. All on mediums. Benji, I believe, also with a repaired front wing. Let's just have a look here, see if his end plate is attached back. And it does look like he has made the repair possible. So Benji back to where he wanted to be. We're gonna, once the safety car is ready, 10-second penalty for Baggy again. Oh my lord. Baggy's gonna be absolutely sick of the penalties he's been receiving today. But we're gonna have a look at the start from Boss Membrane's point of view. So just a reminder, he's on fresh soft tyres. Toby on relatively fresh fresh medium tyres, I beg your pardon. So the restart's going to be absolutely interesting. I do not believe there's any lapped cars yet. Doesn't look like there's any lapped cars so far in this race. I do wonder whether the safety car is going to be deployed or going to be coming in this lap. It does not look like there's been any communication yet, so that might be another lap behind the safety car. And it does look like that's the case. So another lap behind the safety car as the drivers try to catch up with the safety car queue. So the drivers trying to warm up the tyres again for the restart. As we all know that the safety car was going to be deployed. I've got a suspicion that the safety car is gonna be coming in this lap as everybody is caught up except for Baggy. So it's gonna be an interesting restart. I do think the safety car is gonna come in this lap. So once that notification comes through, we're gonna jump on board with Boss Membrane to keep an eye on the restart, see whether Boss Membrane can react to the restart from Toby. Toby is relentless when it comes to safety car restarts. He always times out and times his restarts perfectly. So let's see if Boss Membrane can be on the front foot with the restart, and it does look like we're gonna have another lap behind the safety car. So just a reminder of the grid rundown. So we've got Toby in P1, a wonderful race so far. He also sits with the fastest lap, I believe. Boss Membrane is on 3 lap old softs now, so that might be a factor, but even though it is under safety car conditions, his tyre wear will not be as much, so still relatively fresh softs. Then we've got Lord Genzi in the Racing Bull, Zach in the Alpine, clean as ever, on 11 lap old tyres, so he'll be under attack from Ryan and Benji on 3 lap old medium tyres. I do think JJ might be a dark horse in this race as he's on 3 lap old hard tyres. So the possibility of making this stint up until the end of this race is a possibility for the McLaren drivers. So that might have been the perfect strategy from the McLaren. So let's keep an eye out on JJ as well. Got Cragleton in the Alpine in 8th, JP Gent in 9th. Bexon is in 10th, Dunsby 11th, and then Baggy rounding off the grid rundown in 12th, I beg your pardon. Crazy Beta and Jimmy both retired from the race. We did miss out on what happened to those two, but the announcement has now been made. The safety car will be in this lap, so we're gonna drive on board here with Boss Membrane. Just gonna have a look at how the safety car restart's gonna unfold. I do not think Boss Membrane's gonna be under any threat from Lord Genzi. Boss Membrane just gonna have to keep an eye on Toby. I do believe it is against the rules of AER to drive alongside the drivers in the safety car queue. So Boss Membrane's gonna have to keep an eye on Toby as he has quite a distance behind Toby, but Toby also just trying to warm up his tires. I think Boss Membrane is quite happy with these tire temperatures at the moment. Toby trying to play this out. And Toby gets underway and Boss Membrane has reacted to that opportunity. We're gonna jump back to the gaps between the cars just to keep an eye on any action that might be unfolding. Lord Genzi under threat now from Zach. Zach is definitely gonna go for the overtake going into this corner. Late braking, not risking it, but he's gonna have the better exit between the two, and now Zach is going for it. Side to side, absolutely wonderful racing between these two, not giving each other an inch. But Zach Zig eventually making the overtake possible. Cragleton making the move on Ryan. Benji losing the car just going out of that corner, so unfortunate for the Ferrari. JJ is going to be under threat from JT Gent now. But great restart from everybody. Under my surprise, Boss Membrane is being left from Toby. So Toby proving ultimately that his fresh mediums are still under very good conditions, but now things get interesting. A 3-second time penalty for Toby. Toby's had no problem of losing, and he loses his car. Unfortunate for the Haas driver. Let's just have a look whether he has any damage to the wing, and he does. He lost his end plate. Once again, the Vati commentator curse has occurred again, as Toby has lost his car completely going out of that corner. So now Toby's got a big decision to make, whether he's gonna make the pit stop possible, repair that front wing, and try and catch himself back up to the front of the grid. But now it's gonna be very, very difficult for the Haas driver as he's losing time slowly but surely, struggling to get that car around the corners. Unfortunate for the Haas driver as the two Alpines find themselves back into the podium positions. No strangers to the podium, these two. Cragleton attacking Boss Membrane now, also on the soft tyres. So both of these two drivers on soft tyres at the moment. Benji might be looking for an opportunity on the Mercedes. And Toby has decided to retire his car. Unfortunate from Toby. And a safety car has been deployed again. Toby retiring on track, which basically forces another safety car because Toby's car is now basically in the way of the track. I think Toby actually might have lost his car there because remember he did have damage on that front wing. So unfortunate for the Haas driver as he's our third retirement of this race. We do have confirmation from Toby that he had incredible understeer going into that corner that he crashed into, so not necessarily a retirement on the track but a written off car. And now Boss Membrane going into the pit lane. And Cragleton follows him in. Ryan stays out. Zach Zeke following him in. So now Benji and Ryan staying out. On the medium tires they go. Cragleton on the mediums. Zach had a very slow pit stop there. Not quite sure if he maybe replaced the front wing or something. But Boss Membrane, Cragleton, Zach, Lord Jinsey and Baggy all in the pit lane. I do not want to make fun of the Haas driver, but I do think that's like his 6th pit stop. 8th pit stop, I beg your pardon, so immense things here. As you can see, the JJ is still on the hard tires, Benji on the mediums and Ryan in the front on the medium tires as well. The safety car is in his lap, so a relatively quick safety car experience. So we're gonna keep an eye on JJ's point of view. So it's all gonna depend on the strategy from Ryan when he's gonna release. But JJ is slowly following these two drivers, waiting for the opportunity to pounce, and there goes Ryan catching Benji a bit off guard there, and JJ also losing a bit of time to Benji in front. So JT does look like he got the best of it as he's onto the tail now of the McLaren. JT Gent now slowly following the McLaren, waiting for the announcement to come through for TRS. Benji onto the tail of Ryan. Bit of understeer there from the Ferrari. Just catching the control back again. So now is again once again on the pounce for the Mercedes scalp. as Lord Genzi jumps back down to P10. Not quite sure if I've missed an opportunity there to record what happened there, but Lord Genzi now back into 11th position. But now Benji's got the upper hand here. He's outside of DRS territory at the moment from JJ. And he's on the tail of Ryan. So there's an opportunity for Benji to maybe win this race. He does of course have the likes of Cragleton, Zach and Boss Membrane that could hunt him down with that 3-second time penalty of his. Boss Membrane and JJ of course in the driver's seat, as it does look like JJ might have some DRS opportunity here, and he does. Benji also with DRS on the Mercedes, so will Benji make the best of this? And he does. It looks like he's going onto the inside, making this overtake not as comfortable as you wanted. On the outside, the Mercedes driver sticks, hops over the curb, and there goes the Ferrari driver. So P1 now for Benji. JJ looking for the scalp of Benji in the Ferrari, but the Ferrari driver has got DRS. But JJ might have timed this very well, as he might be looking to extend this stint to the end of this race. Do not think Benji and Ryan will be able to finish this race on these tyres unless there's tremendous time management from them. Boss Membrane is on the tail of his teammate JT Gent. JT Gent will be looking to defend from Boss Membrane, but Boss Membrane the entire race he's got the pace. Off the track goes JT Gent. He does not have a penalty against his name, and I do not think he wants a penalty against his name, because this race is getting so close with the safety car situations. As Boss Membrane goes onto the inside, JT Gent now under threat from Cragleton, and Cragleton looks to overtake, and he does make the move possible. Zach Zeke might be having a look onto the inside here. Will he go for the opportunity? No, he doesn't. Maybe trying to force an error from JT Gent, but he's gonna have a good exit to overtake the Aston Martin. Into the slipstream Zach goes. Benji still in front. Boss Membrane now on the tail of the Mercedes. Boss Membrane has been having a cracker race at the moment. He's doing so well. No penalties against his name. The only guys without any penalties is JJ, Ryan, Boss Membrane and JT Gent. So absolutely no mistakes from these drivers. And that shows, because they've all find themselves in top 7 as Zach Zeke has overtaken the Aston Martin. Boss Membrane gonna have a look on the inside. He's been liking this overtake on the inside of this corner. Does leave enough space for the Mercedes. Has DRS, so well defended, well attacked from Boss Membrane. He moves himself back into the podium position. JJ now. Very late braking from the 3 guys behind him, and JJ has received the 3-second time penalty. So now the race is in the hands of Boss Membrane and Ryan at the moment. And another safety car. Just gonna have a look here. Doesn't look like Vexen has any damage. But Baggy loses his entire front wing is off. So this means another pit stop for the Haas driver. So not the ideal day for the Haas drivers, but another safety car. As you can see there, the drive-through penalty for Baggy as well. Benji, another 3-second time penalty. Another 3-second time penalty for Baggy. Another 10-second time penalty for Baggy. He's not having the greatest day behind the wheel today. So this race is ultimately gonna end very close as I've expected. I did not foresee the amount of safety cars being deployed. It's not like Abu Dhabi is the hardest track in the world. Probably the most exciting track to drive on, but now we sit under safety car conditions again for the 4th time, I believe. 3 retirements. The news of the show with Baggy having probably 10 pit stops already. 700 seconds of time penalties, so not the best day for the Haas driver. Bexon always on the receiving end of those collisions with the Haas driver, so absolute carnage. We're gonna have a look at the tyre strategies at the moment. As you can see, everybody's on the softs except for the top 4. So the main question to be asked is Benji, JJ, Ryan and Zach gonna have the opportunity to attack the front 2 has been the most consistent, Boss Membrane and Cragleton? Are they gonna have a look to snatch the win from these 2 today, or will the likes of Cragleton and Boss Membrane look to add a victory to their resume? Baggy with a pit stop. That's gonna be pit stop number 10 for the Haas driver. We do approach the final quarter of this race. I can estimate that the driver of the day nominees will be announced at lap 50. The safety car will be in this lap. Boss Membrane keeping it very wide, trying to force Cragleton to slow down, having a bit of a scrap here. Wow, very friendly scrap. I do believe they are both in the same voice chat at the moment, so I can only imagine the conversations going on between these 2. Accelerating, trying to dummy a move on Cragleton. And there goes Boss Membrane in the Aston Martin, but Cragleton reacts really well as he stays on the tail of the Aston Martin. Doesn't look like there's any significant drama going on behind those 2. But we're gonna drive on board here with the bunch of drivers on the soft tires. Cragleton very close to the back of Boss Membrane. Zach might be looking for an opportunity here on Ryan in the Mercedes. No opportunity yet for him, but this is going to be interesting because we've got the top four all on medium tires, as you can see, and all the drivers behind them on the softs. Benji might be attempting an overtake here as he records a fastest sector 2 for the race, and he makes the overtake possible as he goes into P4 now. So he's on the hunt of JT James, who's also on the medium. So now you can see it's proving significant for the drivers in the soft tires. But can they make their stunts to the end? As these soft tires in Abu Dhabi, Benji recording a 1:25.2 rapid time from the Ferrari. Dunsby receiving up a 3-second time penalty. Bexon receiving a 3-second time penalty. Baggy in the pits again. Benji might be looking for the overtake. No, he's going to leave it for the DRS opportunity, and he's alongside the Aston Martin, and he goes for the overtake. He's gonna have to be careful for the next DRS zone. Baggy receiving another 10-second time penalty. JT James making the move on Lord Genzi there behind him. Absolute scrap there at the back of Benji. As Cragleton now makes the overtake on Boss Membrane. So Cragleton well on his way to maybe take a victory here in Abu Dhabi. We're gonna have a look here at the penalties so that we can have a look at what the situation's gonna be like coming into the end of this race. So Benji will definitely not be enjoying the bunch of safety car experiences as he's on 6 seconds time penalty. Boss Membrane in the driver's seat at the moment compared with Cragleton. Cragleton with a 1:25.0. In the final 12 laps of this race now, Boss Membrane into his favorite corner of this track today. It does look like there's some action going on between Zach Zeke and Lord Genzi. Great exit there from the LP as he wants to go side by side with the Racing Bull, and he's got DRS open, but so does Lord Genzi. Will he make the overtake stick? Braking late, keeping that inside line, giving enough space to Lord Genzi, and he makes the overtake possible, so he moves into P6. JT Jane still on the tail of JJ. JJ trying to defend the attack coming from the Aston Martin. Benji 6 seconds time penalty, 2 seconds behind Boss Membrane, so it does look like these two might be running away with it now. So this is gonna be where the race is gonna be at. The race win between Cragleton and Boss Membrane, unless something significant happens again, as the entire race has been going on, as Bexon boy has retired and another safety car has been deployed, and that puts Lord Jinsby and Dunsby in a very good position as they both get a very cheap pit stop. So I just want to see, it does look like Bexon's car has already left the track. So I cannot see what happened to Bexon, but Bexon is the 4th retirement. Baggy having a drive-through penalty. 9-second time penalty for Dunsby. Absolute carnage, ladies and gentlemen. This is not the standards that these drivers are used to. Consistently receiving penalties for speeding in the pit lane and causing collisions that's unnecessary, especially under safety car conditions. This will be growing the frustration of these drivers as they just want to finish this race. Cragleton is on the back foot now because he is also allocated with a 3-second time penalty, so there is not a lot of laps left to create that gap between him and Boss Membrane, but we're gonna stay on board here with Cragleton to see whether he might be going for the pit, and he will be, and I do believe he's going to go onto the soft tires. Boss Membrane stays out, I believe, but another 3-second time penalty. Baggy eventually being disqualified from this race. So we've got 9 drivers left on track. Baggy eventually being disqualified for receiving too much penalties. I think the stewards eventually decided, listen mate, gotta start focusing on being cleaner, being smoother, being more consistent. As Cragleton has jumped onto the soft tires, but he now has a 6-second time penalty. So I almost want to vouch for Ryan and Boss Membrane to maybe take the win here. But Boss Membrane eventually on the front foot. No mistakes from the Aston Martin driver. And it does look like the safety car is making its way into the pit lane. So the restart's gonna be absolutely vital for Boss Membrane as Benji is on the soft tires behind him. And a slide there from Boss Membrane, and that might open the doors for Benji. As Benji had a look and decided to back out. Boss Membrane might have some issues now because he is on older tires. He might not have had the opportunity to warm them up completely, hence the mistake he made there on the final corner of the track. As Benji now looking for the overtake on Boss Membrane, going onto the outside, gotta leave space there on the inside for Boss Membrane, making contact to the back of Boss Membrane. Not the greatest maneuver there, but not much that the Ferrari could have done, but now he's under threat from JJ. So now this race is getting interesting. Cragleton and Zach has both caught up again in P4 and P5 respectively. But Benji is smelling a win here. If Boss Membrane, I do believe that he might have had a few warnings, so I don't think he's very far from receiving a 3-second time penalty himself. So if Benji can maybe capitalize on the opportunity to overtake the Aston Martin, then that might be game set and match for Boss Membrane. But Benji is going to have to drive well. Cragleton is recording the fastest lap of the race so far. We are going into the final 8 laps of this race, and we are at the stage of this race to nominate the driver of the day nominees, but JJ now on a flyer now to overtake the Ferrari, might be looking for a move on the Aston Martin. Boss Membrane restricting for JJ to make the move, but Cragleton now pips his head into the conversation here. As Cragleton, they four cars next to each other. Zach Zeke might have an opportunity here now, as these four are wheel to wheel racing absolutely wonderfully. and as they should. These top 5 drivers have been driving neatly, consistently and well as well. Zach Zeek looking for the inside there, not having enough track to make that corner possible, and he stays in 5th. But now Cragleton is on the tail of Benji. Cragleton's got some work to do now because he's also on a 6-second time penalty. These are going to be a bunch of few great laps now for the end of this race. We've got 9 clean drivers that's going to be looking to give it their all. They're all in point positions, so the risks is basically free now for them to basically just go for it. Heads down and just go in for every move possible. Cragleton is on Benji. Benji might be looking for that outside again, and Benji leaving enough space this time, and he does get his nose in front of Boss Membrane, and Cragleton is gonna sneak onto the opportunity there from Boss Membrane. Boss Membrane's gonna go for the opportunity on Benji now. Benji losing out to both drivers, and Cragleton's gonna look for the opportunity to overtake Boss Membrane now, and he does. Wonderful exit there from the Alpine. So this is turning into a wonderful scrap between these drivers. Boss Membrane, of course, onto the front foot with the penalty advantage that he has. He keeps this car between the 2 white lines. I do not think Cragleton's gonna have enough in him to gap him by 6 seconds. So Boss Membrane just gonna have to remain consistent, keep his head in the game, but it's obviously gonna be incredibly difficult if you've got a fast Benji approaching him. Benji is well on his way to maybe get a podium here, but it's going to depend on JJ behind him. If JJ has a say about that. Boss Membrane looking for his favorite corner up the track to overtake Cragleton, but it's not going to be possible. But Boss Membrane is going to have DRS behind the Alpine. We're gonna be on board here with Boss Membrane. Is he gonna go for the opportunity to overtake? Yeah, he stays out, forcing Cragleton to take that corner a bit wider. And Boss Membrane's got another opportunity to overtake the Alpine. So now Boss Membrane angry and hungry for this race win. If he just keeps it as is, he is the provisional winner of this race, going into lap 54 now. Zach Zeek on the tail of JJ as well. Benji is gonna have to make work of it, as he's got a 3-second time penalty disadvantage compared to JJ and Zach. So if he wants to have a sniff at the podium, he's gonna have to start clutching now. As I think it is safe to start nominating the drivers of the day. So obviously one standout for this race, and possibly the race winner today, is Boss Membrane. He's been absolutely clean, been absolutely hungry, aggressive at the proper opportunities, and also conservative in the same way. So Boss Membrane definitely having a vouch. JJ also having a fantastic race today, so JJ is also in the mix for driver of the day. Cragleton, it's arguable for Cragleton to have driver of the day. He, as always, is such a clean and talented driver. But at this current moment, I do think Boss Membrane is the favorite to get driver of the day. He's doing absolutely well on these mediums compared to the softs that Cragleton is on. He's staying within that DRS zone of the Alpine. We've got almost 4 laps to go. I do not foresee another safety car being deployed. JT Gent receiving his 3-second time penalty now, so now things are getting interesting. Brian is 6 seconds clear of the driver behind him in the form of Dumsby. I beg your pardon, he's 6 seconds behind Zach Zeek. Sorry, I had a dyslexic moment there. But Boss Membrane and Cragleton starting to gap the field. So this might be good news for Cragleton at least in his hunt for P2, because Boss Membrane is not going anywhere. And with the 6-second time penalty for Cragleton, Boss Membrane is in the driver's seat for the race win today. Slight loss of control there from Cragleton going out of that corner, and Boss Membrane with DRS might be looking for an opportunity to overtake. He doesn't have the necessity to do that. He, as I mentioned, he does have the advantage. Absolutely wonderful racing. I think regardless of the result for Cragleton, the race between him and Boss Membrane has been absolutely wonderful to watch. You cannot fault Boss Membrane for anything, hence the fact that he doesn't have any time penalties to his name. And being able to keep his car within DRS of the Alpine on the medium tires, where Cragleton is basically on fresh soft tires, he deserves a round of applause. Boss Membrane now in the DRS. I do think he still wants this race win, even though he is in provisional P1 with the penalties. So I think he's still going for that glory moment of beating Cragleton today. Zach Zeek now has made the move on Benji as he moves to P4, so his race is with JJ now. So the situation at this current moment is, can Cragleton stay 3 seconds ahead of JJ for P2? Can Boss Membrane stay within 6 seconds for P1? And can Zach Zeek dip his nose in front of JJ at the end of this race for the podium position? As we go into the final 2 laps of this race, and it's been absolutely wonderful racing, and I do thank all of you who's currently watching and who's going to be watching this race afterwards for tuning in with this eventful race. Some highlights of this race is definitely Boss Membrane's consistency, driving absolutely cleanly and consistently as he goes for the overtake now on Cragleton, and a relatively comfortable move there. But will Cragleton dive onto the inside? He does not go for the opportunity there. Some other highlights: Baggy being disqualified from the race for picking up a significant amount of penalties. Stewart basically saying, listen mate, it's time for you to hang up the wheel and take a disqualification. Toby had a wonderful race up until the moment he had going out of the last corner of the race, and ultimately as he tried to drive himself back into the pit lane to repair the wing, lost control and collided with the wall, eventually ending his race. So he was definitely a contender for the win today, but it does look like Boss Membrane is going to take the win here today. He is into the final lap of this race, so he does not need to make any silly mistakes, as he has the official P1 position with a 6-second time penalty. Cragleton is still within 3 seconds of JJ, so JJ might jump himself back to P2 if Cragleton does not finish this lap on a high note. Cragleton's now looking for the opportunity to make the overtake on Boss Membrane, still going for the merit of being the race winner. But now Boss Membrane's got the DRS going into this straight. and he'll be going for the overtake now on the Alpine. So wonderful driving from these two. Just gotta avoid the collision there. Cragleton remaining on the inside, and now he has been overtaken, and I do think if Bossman Brain can take this home, he'll be the race winner of this race. So let's drive here from the commentator's point of view to see who takes the merit, but we do know that Bossman Brain is going to be the winner of this race, and he does so as well. Bossman Brain with the win. Cragleton in second place, with JJ just finishing behind him, and Zaxik taking fourth, Benji taking fifth. Wonderful drive from the Ferrari, but Ryan overtakes him due to penalties, so Ryan is in fifth. And that is the conclusion of this race, everybody. Wonderful drive from Bossman Brain. He will be the driver of the day. Just to ignore the display on screen with JJ receiving the game's driver of the day. But I think if you go based on consistency and grit and skill, it has to go to Bossman Brain. That's the Martin, the race winner here today. Cragleton and JJ rounding off the podium. And I do thank you all for joining in, as this will be the end of the AER round 1 in Abu Dhabi. Wonderful way to start the new season. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.